Hi there, it's Crystal from All Bodies Welcome Hair Removal in San Jose, California. And I'm so thrilled to be today interviewing Stephanie from Senza Spa. I'll let her tell you the actual name in Phoenix, Arizona. And she's been doing this for 16 years. So we're going to get some really good stuff answered today. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me.
My
It's
pleasure.
Senza Pelo. It means without hair in Italian.
We like that.
Yes.
So 16 years electrology and then 17 years for laser?
17 years of laser. I actually have been speaking on behalf of the practice since I was a sophomore in high school. I'm second generation electrologist, and my mother did not like public speaking. And so she would hire me to do public speaking on behalf of the office for transgender conferences so that we could help spread the word about how we can help patients. So
I always feel, and I talked about this once already in a different interview, but I feel so privileged when I get to be a part of a trans person's journey.
oh, absolutely. There is
How
no
amazing.
greater feeling than to be able to walk somebody through their basically ugly duckling to swan phase. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not for everybody. And when I was in school, I kept thinking, I don't feel embarrassed or ashamed about anything that has to do with the human body. I
Mhm.
don't feel uncomfortable talking about discussions that can sometimes be difficult for other people. And since I can do it, I almost have to do it. Like I should help trans people because there's a lot of people that do that here. But I called my business All Bodies Welcome because I wanted all queer people and all trans people and gay people and straight people and non-binary people and fat people and black people and brown people. I wanted them all to feel comfortable in my practice. And I've only been a practicing electrologist for 6 months, and then I had 6 months off for the pandemic. I had three trans clients, and I swear sometimes I would get like almost bawling my eyes out when I would hear their stories. And then I'm like, I want to hug you. I know I don't really know you, but I feel so privileged to be a part of this for you because it's so exciting, right? I'm like, and then once the pandemic happened, my heart was so just heartbroken for them because this is something they've been planning sometimes their whole life. And then
Mhm.
the stupid pandemic put all that on hold.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I talk about with people is like right now, social distancing is a must for our health and safety and the health and safety of our patients. And so at the end of the day, I would always give my patients a hug on their way out because so often society has deemed them in a certain light that
Other than, yeah.
other than. And so to be able to embrace somebody that's going through such a hard time is it's very powerful, and
Yeah.
being Italian and being a boisterous individual, I've always been used to that. However, the pandemic kind of put all on stop to that. And so not allowing that portion and continuing on as a practitioner, it's almost one of those moments where you have to find new and creative ways of still being able to let someone know that you're there and with them throughout their transition, and you are important to them as they are important to you, because it helps you understand what it's like to go through massive changes in a life.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then when they tell me their stories and just get like, wow, so it must be so difficult. And I just feel so much compassion. I want to help as much as I can. So, I only had one person that I was already working on getting rid of all the pubic hair from her testicles. And that was my first, and I
Mhm.
think I even asked you a few questions about like, I don't know, how do you manage it? But you figure it out, and
You do. Tissue is tissue. Skin is skin.
right.
At the
Yeah,
end of the day,
exactly.
if we got a good insertion for that wire, they're golden.
So I say if it's like just like treating it on forearm, elbow, everything, all body parts doesn't matter. It's just I just want to get the hair and that bulb out, and I'm so like it's so exciting when it comes out. Like yeah, but especially on testicles, I'm like yes, I probably won't have to go back there one more time for
Right?
that
You're like,
that
I am
particular
done
follow up.
with
Like I
this
think
hair.
that one's going to be permanent. So how do we know when something's going to be permanent, Stephanie? Do we know?
So here's the deal. At the end of the day, um, electrolysis is FDA cleared for permanent hair removal. The biggest difference between that, and I talk about this in my consultation, between that and laser, is that there's no candidacy for electrolysis to work. Okay. So when we think about laser, we think about color of hair.
Mhm.
And then when we think about electrolysis, we're actually putting a filament into the follicle to go after that.
Yeah.
So the problem is that electrolysis has never been given a timeline. So if it's one time you treat the hair, if it's 50 times you treat the hair, it will permanently go away, but
Yeah.
we just don't know the timeline. So we need to be able to find that hair to come out with ease every time. And that doesn't matter what growth cycle it is in. Our goal is to kill that bottom 2/3. And so if you have a good insertion, a good treatment, that hair should break down to the point where it regrows in thinner every 13 or so weeks
Right.
until it's gone. And hopefully, if we're getting it in that anagen cycle, you'll have the higher kill rate. But dead is dead. So at the end
Yes.
of the day, as long as you're treating that hair and it's coming out with ease, you should be able to see that in any stage, in
Yeah.
theory.
So here's my theory, and you tell me what you think of this. This
Okay.
is what I say during a consult. So people really want to know, how long is this going to take? And let's take trans people out of the equation for now,
All
because
people.
that's a whole different story. But how long? How long will I have to come in here? How much time is this going to take? And so I try to explain to them it's really difficult to give you a quote. It's going to be easier for me to get an idea after I work on you for a little while and I can see your growth pattern, and we'll see how your hair is, if we can find a really good setting for you, like right away. There's a lot of variations. There's a lot of variables in this equation. But here's kind of what we tell people, blah, 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 based on whatever your particular project is. But there's no guarantees. In my theory, so if there's 3 stages of hair, early anagen, catagen, and telogen,
Mhm.
if you have 100 hairs in a patch and you remove 100 hairs in a session, my guess is about 60% of those hairs are going to come back.
Correct.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell my patients your hair grows in 3 stages. If we have 100 hairs in the area, 30% of that is in the anagen cycle. And so at the end of the day, 30% of them are being broken down. The other 60% is actually just being basically extracted from the follicle so that it can regrow in from the anagen cycle. But where I do change that is with my patients, I explain the average hair growth cycle is about 13 weeks between face or pubic. Okay, those are like the most common areas we're going to treat. When you have that 13-week cycle, what we're going to be experiencing during that time is I am learning in that first 13 weeks what your growth rate is. If you've been pulling, if you've had any hormonal stimulation, we'll be able to, for like my female, cis female with menstruation patients, if I see that I'm having like cycles in there, I'll be able to find your pattern. And
Exactly.
so what I do is I create a timeline for my patients, and I share this on our web groups, where it's basically a generalized treatment plan. Okay, and in that generalized treatment plan, I break it down by groups of 4 months. Okay, so the first 4 months you're going to be coming in this often for this amount of time if it's
Right.
a severe hair problem. Then the next 4 months it's going to be this amount of time for this long, and then we're going to break it down from there. And then the next 4 months is going to be this amount of time for this long. And so basically we're finding that down the side of the mountain.
Yep.
And that's really what it comes down. You can almost give your patient, in most cases, as you being a new electrologist, you can give them a timeline and a treatment plan for a minimum of 1.5 years if you're able to base it on that tiered step down.
And their commitment to coming for their appointments, right? And all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff too. And that, like, as you know, motivation is everything in this business. And when people are very motivated and they stick to the schedule, it goes really well. And what I've noticed, and you kind of confirmed this earlier, especially with my clients with PCOS, I have a couple of clients who have hair from here, all the way down, sometimes on their areola and all over their chest too.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, what we do is they'll come twice a week. So we'll do the right cheek, then the left cheek, right cheek, left cheek. And over the 6 months, we would see a lot of improvement, but the ones that are coming back are much thinner. And
Mm-hmm.
so, whereas a lot of times the hairs that when I first start treating them would be more reminiscent of what you would see on someone who is born male, and where they
Yes.
have a lot of testosterone. So it's more coarse and thicker and really easy to get. And like, yeah. And my one client said, "Crystal, do you have a climax?" I'm like, well, sometimes it feels very close to that because it's very satisfying, right? When you get it
You're like,
full,
yes.
that one's probably never coming back. And also from having a person who's received electrology, I know how good it feels when it stops coming back. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I feel very happy for them. But the hairs are, they're not as coarse. And they'll be like, look, Crystal's like all soft now. Now there's some that still have to go, but they're not like a man's beard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is always going to be a breaking down process. The chances of us ever seeing a patient one time for one hair, it's just, I've been doing this as long as I've been doing this. And like I said, I'm a second generation electrologist. So mother's been doing this since 1982. So 38 years. And so at the end of the day, you just sit there and it's like, yes, we can give you a generalized timeline of like the average person might be 1.5 to 3 years, but our patients aren't average. And most of them are on hormone replacement therapy with PCOS, with severe hirsutism. They're on testosterone to get rid of, or to get their hair growing for FTM. I mean, like, it's just, I mean, we are battling not even unknowns. We are battling known hair growth patterns.
Not to mention stress. Stress can induce hair growth too.
Yeah.
Like a pandemic.
Like a pandemic. I was actually really, really, really pleased to see all of my patients come back from our closure here in Arizona, which was nothing like yours. But our closure for, our patients not to come in for 8 weeks, and they came back and they were like hairless. And I was like, well, that's what we've been trying to do, guys. Like, you see me with your own personal need, but at the same time, like, we're doing our job because of that. And I did see a lot of thinning up here and a lot of hair growth down here for my stressed out people. And I was like, oh, guys, testosterone's a no good.
Yeah. I used to tell my boyfriend, I have a lot of testosterone in my body, which means I have a high sex drive. Also, it means I'm going to have a beard. He's like, I'm cool with the beard.
Beards are fine. Yeah,
but I did get it removed for the most part.
Yeah, I'm an Italian woman with PCOS, and I went through a weight loss journey and weight gain and weight loss, all those things. And it was so funny when I finally got diagnosed with PCOS. They're like, well, you don't have any of the factors other than, this weight problem. And I was like, well, that's because I got rid of the factors. You don't see hair on me because I'm Italian and I took care of that at 12 years old.
Yeah. Actually, that's some of the advice that we received in school was if you have a young client and, there's a possibility that they don't know yet that they have PCOS, be careful about removing too much of their facial hair, because sometimes doctors are lazy and sometimes they'll be like, no, you don't have facial hair, so you probably don't have PCOS. So if they get it all removed, they go to the doctor and the doctor doesn't see the hair, they might not do the right test. So I spend a lot of time, I don't say, hey, I think you might have PCOS because I'm not a doctor, but I'll say, I've had clients like you that have similar growth pattern on their face, and it might be worth just having a doctor check on you to see if you have PCOS. And by the way, to do that, you have to have this and this and this test, because you can't just look at you and go, nah, you don't have PCOS, right? Which might have happened to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was misdiagnosed for a long time. And then the other funny thing was that they diagnosed me, but they were like, well, you're able to have kids, so it's okay. And I'm like, yeah, but I still feel miserable, guys. Like at the end of the day, like, there's still stuff that for you guys to do.
Yeah, because they're so focused on the reproduction issues. A lot of people who have PCOS have difficulty, but not all.
Yeah. And, one of the things I tell my patients is photo documentation it's imperative in our line of work, because you're not going to remember what you came in with, and neither am I. Within reason, we'll have like, yeah, I remember when your hair looked bad. But photo documentation, even at like a minimum of like once a quarter, it's paramount. And so when you have somebody that is going through a hair growth cycle that is not the norm, I tell them, let's take pictures. And then that way, if the hair is bothering you and you still want to go to the doctor and find out if everything else is working okay, you have photo documentation of when it wasn't good.
Yeah, I try to take at least one photo once a quarter, and I keep it in a special email box. So I was never really sure what to do with them, but I just had this one email box where I just put them all in there. And then especially if there's a question like, how come this isn't going away fast? I'll be like, okay, remember this?
Yeah, this is where we're at. Yeah.
So it helps a lot.
That good in memory.
No, I mean, even I think I'll remember, but then you do when you work on so many people, because, even though I've only been in business for those 6 months, sometimes I would have 10 clients a day. It was crazy. There's so few electrologists in the world and in the Bay Area that we get very busy very fast, even though my business was very new. And also my mentor, she was working in my same office, and she was, only working 2 days a week. So she was giving me her.
She was filtering them in.
Crystal, take care of these people. I'm like, absolutely. So what kind of questions people ask you during a consultation before? They've never done this. They're not sure what to do. What do you tell them? How do you tell them how to get started and how long it's going to take? What do you say? What are your golden words?
So golden words. Okay. So first and foremost, I probably say, well, I've probably been asked, does this hurt? And the thing is like, people will be like, oh no, it's painless electrolysis. And the thing is like, if you're administering heat into a follicle, there's going to be a sensation there. It depends on your pain threshold,
Yep,
but
yep.
most people can handle it. At 12 years old, when I had my upper lip taken care of, I couldn't handle it. I was 12.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I would do lidocaine injections. And so at our office, we do have nurse administered lidocaine injections under the care of a medical director, because when we're dealing with our like severe cases of PCOS and our trans clients, at the end of the day, the amount that we're doing at any given time is great. It's a big amount. So that's my number one. Is it painful? And so no, it's not excruciating pain, but it is absolutely uncomfortable, and it is repeated. So repeat, that's the big one. How long will this take? I get that question forever. How much does it cost, right? I tell people on average, it's 1.5 to 3 years. And that is a case that we're not dealing with hormonal imbalances.
Mm-hmm.
If we're dealing with something that's underlying hormone problems, or say, for example, your hormones have leveled out, but they might have been a problem in the past, I'm dealing with hair that has been stimulated. So I need to break that down over. Laser versus electrolysis. Everybody asks me because they know that I do both.
Sure.
In my consultation, I cover both modalities. And so we talk about that. In our office, we offer multiple modalities of laser wavelengths, as well as we do all modalities of electrolysis, except for we're no longer doing multi-needle galvanic, just because we didn't have the ability to have our machines serviced and that kind of stuff. And they all have their time and place. And so people go, well, which one's the best? There is no best. If your technician is comfortable with that modality, it is the best modality there. And
it's really nice to have a machine that can do all the modalities too, as far as the electrolysis, because every client is so different. They have a different hair pattern, different hair color, different skin color, different threshold for pain. So it's really good to have a machine that can do more than one modality.
Oh, absolutely. And at the end of the day, when it comes to working with the modalities, I always tell my patients, your filament size, your needle size is going to change over time. Your hair size is changing. The current that we're using, it changes over time. There is no cranking up the machine to make it go faster.
They all want that.
I'm like, turn it up to 20. And I'm like, no, we're not going to turn it up to 20, because it's all about timing and intensity. The longer I'm in that follicle, the less intensity I need. The more intensity I have, the shorter time I'm in the follicle. It's just a scaled treatment.
Right.
People and then post-treatment. Everybody asks about post-treatment.
Yes.
How long can I do X, Y, and Z? I mean,
I had this lady show up for her appointment, and she said she wanted her bikini work done. I said, sure, no problem. So we started a consultation, and it turned out what she wanted was all of her gray pubic hair removed before a date the next night. I was like, oh
no.
It doesn't work
no
like
friction-based activities, guys.
I said, we need a little more time than that, because I know I saw it. And I was like, it's a lot. And she thought she should let it grow a lot for me, so it'd be nice and long. And I was like, oh, actually, that makes little things down. So I got to try to get through the
right.
And so I said, but so she's in her 50s, normal to have gray pubic hair. And I said, who's this guy? Oh, he's someone I've known forever. He's like in his 60s. He's like 65, and we were a lot age different. I go, he's not going to care if you have gray pubes. He's 65. But sister. And then she came back. She's like, you were so right, Crystal. I mean, of course I was. I don't care. So but I was like, yeah, this is gonna take some weeks there, sister.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I tell my patients in the consultation, I need you not to come in here after like strenuous activity, because one, the follicles will be dried out. So I don't want you to go for like a hike or yoga or spin class right before you come in. Sure, and no friction-based activities or hot tubs after, because at the end of the day, I've just created a void in your follicle, right? And so if you go in there and you give me lots of bacteria and lots of sweat and irritation, it's already 115 in Phoenix. I don't need help creating a bad environment.
Right.
So, and then shower within the hour. That's our number one rule. We always say shower within the hour, because we want nice hydrated follicles, and we want to make sure that they're nice and clean so that there's less chance of problems.
How do you feel about this theory that people should arrive well hydrated, like they've had a lot to drink, a lot of water to drink the couple days beforehand?
I tell all of my patients that for a couple different reasons. One, your skin's recovery to normal. Okay.
Yes.
It aids in that. It is amazing as an aid in that. I also tell my patients to be on a good skincare regimen. It's not enough to use bar soap and clean your face. It is more along the lines of I need your skin hydrated because that's going to help. And then the other part of it is I live in the desert. And so my patients are already coming in dehydrated. And that is just, it's not conducive to a good treatment. And
Yeah.
so I need to make sure that they are going to give me the best possible treatment and have great extractions of those hairs and not
Right.
be just, I don't need to turn up my current,
Right.
just do that part.
Right. And I think most people are dehydrated a little bit anyway. And so we're always a little bit behind. And just, I tell them it's better if you don't arrive hungover. It's better if
Yeah,
you don't arrive way caffeinated. And it's better if you arrive very well hydrated because, well,
absolutely.
we all know that water helps for everything. The more hydrated you are, no matter what you're doing, it's going to be better no matter what. So especially where we're getting each follicle and we're applying some current and it can't make it things worse. So do what you can to be as hydrated as possible and try not to be like six, espressos in because if you think it's uncomfortable now, wait till you're super caffeinated. I think a lot of my clients, I think they've had electrolysis in the past, like way, way past.
Hmm.
And that's what they remember is like what electrolysis felt like 30 years ago. I'm thinking of even my best friend who had laser and electrolysis a long time ago. Now she's in her mid 50s and she says she's needing some touch ups, right?
Hmm.
And she's like, oh, this is way less uncomfortable. I'm like, well, the
Oh yeah.
technology's improved in 30 years. And I think it's much better, right? It's easier on the way they combine the currents and the way it's just the machines can moderate the currents better probably now. And I always think back to 150 years ago. Imagine those people that were like the
Oh my God.
test.
I think about that all the time too. I'm like, oh, and like, especially when I've taken like the history of electrolysis as a course. And it's kind of funny because you think back to like, they were like sewing needles
Huge
on
fat needles.
huge fat needles. And it was on
Hmm.
ingrown eyelashes. I mean, like,
Come
it's
in your
just,
eyeball. I feel
yeah, no, thank you. Like, let's not do this.
like my
So,
COVID test the other day. I'm like, okay.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
need to check the back of my brain? I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking like because now there's like micro machining, right? So our probes are teeny tiny. They're
Oh,
like
yeah.
barely not even like a hair strand, and they're in their eyeball, and then they have what kind of control over electricity did they have 150 years ago? But some people did it, and they were the guinea pigs, and they're the reason why we all have these fantastic machines now.
At some point, we'll have to do like a follow-up just video call between you and I. So my mother and I 5 years ago started an electrolysis museum
Yeah,
nonprofit.
right.
And we have over 70 epilators from the last 100+ years. And some of these machines, like patients will walk past them and they're like,
They're gruesome looking.
they are. And I mean, so when I first started in practice, I was working on a Gentronics multi-needle epilator and as well as a Claire blend. And I was using the Laurier probe. I have it in
Oh,
my
right.
necklace.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was just, that's what I started with. And I remember like some of the machines that we have in the practice, I remember seeing my mother work with them and it's like, wow, how far have we come as practitioners? Um, and I say that we're allied medical in what we do because so much of what we're doing is aligned more to medical than it is to beauty.
Yeah.
But those controls for sterilization and those controls for infectious prevent or infection prevention, just in my time alone of doing this, I remember seeing people not using gloves. I remember, actually, I still see that from time to time, but I remember seeing not people using gloves, not using medical scrubs,
Right.
masks.
Hmm.
I've seen people work in their offices like flip flops, and and I sit there and it's like, okay, I get it. Everybody's practice is different, but we are dealing with a medical tool here. We got to take some precautions.
Especially
Um,
now, even more so
Especially
now.
now. I mean,
Yeah.
we're dealing with like in our history, in our parents' history, there has never been a medical crisis like we're dealing with right now.
No.
And we are so close to our patients that we just need to make sure that we're keeping
Yes.
healthy.
We're like face to face practically.
Yeah, I use a
Um,
shield now when I work.
Me
I
too.
was using a
Yeah.
mask before, but I'm using a mask plus a shield plus my
Me too.
scrubs. It's,
Yeah.
ugh,
All.
yeah.
So also, now we have disposable probes, and I think they used to be used trying to sanitize and sterilize their needles, right?
Mhm.
And use
Yeah,
them
we
over and
did the
over
same thing
again.
early in my practice.
Really, oh, I'm
Hmm.
so happy to have come into it when I have,
Yeah.
because I just love to just take it out, put it with all my gloves on, everything sterilized, take the new probe out, put it in the machine, get started. And everybody knows if everything's brand new, it's
Yeah.
perfectly sterile until the air hits it, and then we're on. But I can't imagine having to sterilize and sanitize needles and stuff.
I
It's
think back when my mother went to school, they were taught that if you depressed your foot switch when you were using galvanized current and held it up in the air and had
sterilized.
it on for so many seconds, they would sterilize their wire. I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
I
and then
know.
go
I
to
was
their
wondering why,
next.
because I see that topic keeps coming up on the California Beauty Cosmetology page
Hmm.
about that's not enough to sterilize your probe. And I'm like, well, duh, but I didn't realize it actually was a thing. It used to be a thing.
Hmm.
I had no
It
idea. Wow.
used to be a thing.
So I have a couple of questions about a couple clients. I'm dying to know how you would handle this.
Absolutely.
Um, I have this one client. She's lovely. We started back to work yesterday. She's so excited to be my first client back to work since they just let us go back. And she's blonde and she
Okay.
has a lot of gray hair and it's very coarse.
Okay.
It's hard and it's white or blonde, but it's coarse. And she wants it all gone. But it's very hard to see. And she was asking me, isn't there anything like a mascara or something that you could put on there so you could see all of them? Because they're hard to see. Her skin's super white and then her hair is white and blonde. So is there something like that, like a mascara that will let me see all the different hairs down there, the fuzzy ones?
So yes, you can do that, and I do that for some of my patients. But you need to do a couple different things when you're doing that.
Okay, great.
One, so your tube for your mascara, you need to get disposable wands.
Okay.
Okay. And you need to get a very liquidy base mascara, something that's going to glide on easily and not leave a lot of residue on the skin. Okay.
So do they sell something specific before this, or do you just use mascara?
Nope, just mascara.
Oh, good to know. Okay.
Yeah. Hmm. And then I
What
can,
brand do you use? Do you know? Do
huh?
you remember which brand you use?
The dollar store.
Okay. Perfect.
Hey, if I got to dispose of it, it's going to the. So basically, I use the dollar store one. I use the disposable applicators.
Yeah.
So I take out the wand, I put my wand in there, take it out, I paint the face, let it dry,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
get to work. Yeah. Make sure that you're obviously cleaning with alcohol prior to, and then put the original wand back in the machine or into the tube, and you're good to go.
Very cool. Thank you for that.
Also, offset your lighting. So you're going to want to work in the dark. You're going to want to offset your lighting. So if my patient is here, I want the light to come back. I don't know if you, there we
Yeah.
go. I want the
Got it.
light to come back this way.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. She's coming back tomorrow, so maybe I'll go see maybe I'll stop at the dollar store tomorrow or tonight and see what I can find. She'll be
Yeah.
so excited. I mean, I feel like I get most of it. And she's not really asking to have the vellus hair removed, but she's like, as long as you're there, like, okay, I'm happy to remove that hair for you. So it's gonna get more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on the ones that you really hate right now, and then we'll go from there. And if we put the mascara on, of course I'll be able to see them all, but that's just going to extend the time that you're here, and it's going to extend how much this costs. So if you have the budget, I'm happy to do that. But
Right.
so it's up to you. Okay, so my friend is one of my clients, and she, since the beginning, she just I don't know if it like tickles her or if it hurts her, but the insertion she jumps, just working on her legs, and then sometimes after I'm in the follicle for about a 4 count or so, maybe a 5 count. She's just like jumping all the time. So I have to like pin her down and like put weight down. Sometimes she hooks her foot around my back and then she's just like, hold me down, Crystal. What causes that? Is she just sensitive?
That's just nerves. So one, I would definitely recommend that she's not doing like any type of caffeine prior to her treatment, because obviously that's going to agitate her nerves more. That hooked approach is really great because it stabilizes the patient and also gives you kind of an area to prop. So if they
Exactly.
put their leg through and over your arm, are you a two-handed technique or a one?
Yeah, two-handed.
Two-handed. So it'll be a little bit difficult with the hook,
Yeah.
but it still works.
I've done some
And
one-handed with her, so I'll just keep my tweezers nearby and then just like, I'll be like, okay, and then I'll tweeze them or
yes,
whatever. But I prefer to work two-handed. So,
yeah.
so we do a little mix of both. But yeah.
And then, as crazy as this sounds, have her lay on her side and look away. Don't have her watch, because legs are easy to watch. And so what's happening is like the brain goes, hey, I'm supposed to react, right?
Yeah.
But if you're able to turn off the audio or turn down the audio of your epilator so she can't hear the auditory
Yeah.
tone, as well as not watch you do it, they tend to relax. When patients are all excited to see us,
Yeah.
and then they want to watch, but they are not good watchers, then
Right.
they may not watch.
Yeah, I told her, I said, now that because of the pandemic, I want her to lay down instead of sitting up because
Yes.
I want to keep her mouth away from my face, right? And or
Right.
her face away from my face. So I think laying down will help a lot. But that's really good idea. I wonder too if she listened to like her own music or her own book on tape. I wonder if that would help her to keep her distracted.
Little podcast, maybe.
Yeah, because she's always like, there's one, there's another one, there's another one. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah. No,
I
no.
see them.
Yeah. I tell my patients, it always cracks me up because I have people like, oh, and they'll whip out their magnifying mirror from their pocket. And they're like, I'm going to show you a couple hairs just in case you miss it. And then I'm like, I'll recognize the fact that one, they're not looking. Once I put my magnifiers on, they don't look. And so I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, let me take out my magnifiers real quick and I'll put it like in front of their face and I'll bring it down. They're like, oh, I
yeah.
didn't know you wore those. And I was like, yeah, I mean, like, tools of the trade.
Yes, thank God, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, I always find I see him go, let me just finish what I'm doing here, and then I'll get those over there. I see
Mm-hmm.
them. And
Oh,
she
yeah.
also she's very energetic person anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just very excitable. And we have, we used to have lots to talk about, but now I'm trying to, cut down on the talking during sessions, which is difficult for me. But or so besides, like, so one of the things I'm going to do for the time being is only going to work on faces for up to a half an hour. Did you guys make any kind of changes or pivots like that with your practice?
So we've been back on faces since the beginning.
Okay.
Patients who have higher risk factors, when we first got back to work, we're like, hey, if there are things that you are worried about, it is okay to forego your treatments before jumping back into the schedule, because the adjustments that we made was mainly the shields. Everything else in our office, oh, and then we put 15-minute buffers in between every patient. So it
Yeah.
gives them time to turn a room over, and just take that time to make sure that there's no misses in our process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But really, so I have patients who are a little bit concerned, but they still want to get their chin hairs done. I move the mask up and kind of make it like a shield across their lip to eyebrow range, and I'll work on their chin. But otherwise, I'm back to working on faces. I'm wearing a shield. I'm wearing a mask. I'm wearing the protocols in my office are strict. We take temperatures when you walk in the door. Our lobby is closed to the public, so you have to call the front desk and say, hey, I'm here for my appointment. All common areas. And that means, like, if you are not on my treatment table, you need to have a mask on.
Yeah, yeah.
For the most part, most patients are really good about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then occasionally you'll have somebody just like either forget their mask or they'll just take it off not thinking. And I know that it's not in any bad way. It's just more like,
Sure.
oh, that's right, we have to put the mask on.
Right, yeah.
And when I have someone that I can tell is not a good mask washer or mask take care kind person, then I give them a paper mask. Originally, I had said, oh, we'll do one for a small fee. And yes, it costs my business money to have those additional masks on site for people. But a lot of people were really upset about that. And so we just removed the fee portion of it. And it's a hit that we're willing to take for the safety of our patients.
Yeah, and it probably, as a practitioner, is better for you if you know that the new mask is clean and
exactly, because there's already so many things that can go wrong. You could have irritation, redness, scabbing, bruising.
Right.
I mean, like, all those things can happen. Why am I going to put something dirty on a place where I just made hair free?
Yeah. I was very happy and heartened to see there was a big long thread on one of the Facebook groups we belong to about all the practitioners that have been back to work for a while, some of them since June, and lots, like maybe 100 people commented on this thread, and nobody's
had issues.
Nothing.
The most that I've had to do is do like a rapid test when someone had said that they had come in contact, and I was like, I'll just go do a rapid test. Now, I mean, for the general public, rapid test for a practitioner is so that I can maintain the fact that I can go back into work and there's no hiccups.
Yeah.
A slow test takes 10 days. A rapid test takes, right away. So at the end of the day, if I have to spend that to make sure that everybody else is covered, then I'm good to go.
I've had 2 tests so far. I got 1 test a couple months ago when I thought we were going to go back to work. So I just thought, it'd be a good idea to have a test just so I know and have a set point. And then I just got another one last week, but the last one was the one where they test your brain with the swab. But actually, it didn't hurt as much as I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to hurt way worse. But first they did the throat, and then they took the same swab, which surprised me, but that swab of both of my nostrils. And then just when I thought, aren't you going to use a different swab? But they put it right in my nose. And then when it gets way up here closer to your sinus, it doesn't really hurt, but it makes you feel a little bit like you have one of those sneezes that won't happen. Like you need to sneeze, but you can't get it out. So I felt like I'm going to sneeze soon, but it was over so fast. And then I got results. Both of my tests, I got my results in 2 days. So one was from Kaiser, one was from our county health department, but just voluntarily on my part, just so I have it, so I could say, well, I started without it. It's only good. I know it could have changed the next day that I had got COVID, but anyway, I'm just going to try to do it every 4 to 6 weeks, just so I have for me, so I know, because when people start coming through my office, as you get very busy some days, and it's a lot, and you're suddenly exposed to 10 people in a day. It's like, okay, maybe I should just pay attention to this every once in a while and get another test.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is really important for people to understand is we are exposed to many people in our day, and so we are doing all that we can to mitigate that that exposure rate. So when it comes to doing social activities, we're not doing as many of those because we want to be able to continue to see our patients. And so we are doing what we can to slow the spread in the office, but on the personal end too, because that's what it takes to work right now.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, same here. I'm trying to limit what I'm up to as far as my personal life. Try not to be exposed to a lot of different people. And then we're doing actually half an hour in between clients, which will mean fewer clients in a day, fewer clients, which means less money. But that's just a hit I'm willing to take for now, just to make sure that I have the faith that if somebody did come in that was asymptomatic, that the room is cleared, the room is sanitized, and for a little time to get some fresh oxygen in there and out with the old and with the new. And it's, it'll be temporary, maybe 6 months, and then maybe we'll be able to get back to more normal speed. But I don't mind the break either. It's okay, because I'm sure you've been in the situation where people get very high pressure. Please, 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 can you get me in today?
Right. Yeah, I think that my kids are 10 and 7, and I've never been able to just stop and be so involved. And right now we're doing a distance learning. We'll be doing distance learning throughout the school year so that I can continue to work. I mean, I'm not gonna yo-yo back and forth. And so that was a silver lining moment, is just being able to slow down and be able to take those moments and enjoy present. Them. Yeah. So
you have to look for the silver lining, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about this. When you reach out to me and you're like, "Hey, can we do this video?" It's our community of electrologists, while small, and that's why I started the school during the COVID closure. And one of the things that I'd been working on this for a while, and I really feel as though when we were talking earlier about feeling the calling to work with certain client base, patient base, the same thing happens when it comes to educating and innovating. And you doing these YouTube videos, or me teaching a new electrologist, if not us, then who? Right. Is one of those phrases that I just think that is so important, because we are the new generation of electrologists. There are less schools, there is less information and education, and we are literally at a point in our life where information is at our fingertips at all times. So if not us, then who will do this?
Yeah, I found out, so we know California has 40 million people, and there's 1,400 licensed electrologists. Isn't that crazy?
We don't have licensing in Arizona, and I can tell you how many there are in my state, just because there is no checks and balances here in Arizona. So we go for national certification. I train my girls apprenticeship style. They go through theory and practical 400 hours, and then they apprentice for a year so they can sit for their exam. And the only way we have a check and balance in Arizona is that's national certification between SCMHR, AEA. I mean, like, that's the only way.
Sure. Well, yeah, California is 600 hours, and we're state licensed from our board, and it's been interesting 6 months. So, in fact, I was on a board meeting this morning, and they move a little slow. Let's just say.
Well,
I want
that's the way any board works.
probably, but I want
It
to
could
be
be
able to
your
do some.
HOA or not.
Yeah, right. I want to be able to do some of the stuff that you do, like removing like the little tiny red lines and stuff with my machine, but I'm not allowed to do any of that in California.
Oh, it's a
No,
lot. I'm
I'm
actually taking
envious.
a theory class on the 21st. I'm doing a Zoom theory, and that's a lot of fun to be able to understand what the machine can do for us and our patients. But one day you guys will get to do it.
I have to try to get that changed made here in California.
Hey, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
I know. I'm always the squeaky wheel, though. Oh, it's always me. Thank you so much for chatting
It's
with
our
me today.
calling. Absolutely.
I know. So I told my friend, I'm a big mouth. Everybody knows that. I'm a busybody. Everybody knows that. I just can't be any way other than this. So it is what it is.
It is what it is.
She's like, oh my God, that's how I identify too. I go, I know, that's why I love you.
You're like, same people.
Sister, well, I see you.
Well,
thank you, Stephanie. That's so helpful and so useful. And I really appreciate all of your time and all of your generosity that you're always sharing your information. And I so appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. I'm a phone call away.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie. I know you mean that too. I appreciate that.
I do.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.